CJ on the track.
Black Scully on, check. Got a little American themed TV t-shirt on, check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. On today's docket, we got quite to talk about today. It's going to be a crazy week. I will be live from the NFL draft on Thursday. That's going to be dope. It's going to be really dope. Something I wanted to do for a while. And the fact of the matter that we could have actually got credentialed, but I prefer to be out there with my people and talk to the fans. I think that's going to be really dope. But on today's docket, we'll talk about Indiana. How they went 16-0 and won the national championship. Back-to-back college football playoff appearances. And then ESPN's Way Too Early top 25. They're 6. Doesn't make sense to me at all. I understand that they lost a lot of production. All of the top teams lost a lot of production. It's just the name of the sport. But Cignetti ability to get active in a transfer portal and get the players that he needs to have this roster ready for the season in a way that they really get a return on their investment almost immediately. They'll be fine. Why they 6, I just don't know. Also, I talked about the NFL draft. It'll be in Pittsburgh on Thursday. Can't wait to go. Me, Foots, Maul, and Ann are heading out there. It's going to be dope. We'll be in our team gear. We're going to tailgate a little bit as well. So it's just going to be a lit experience. It'll be something that I'll go live temporarily via my phone. Then also it'll be a documentary made around it as well. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. And I love what the New York Giants was able to do. I don't talk NFL much here. This is a college football place. This is a safe college football space, and this is what we always talking about. But because I'm going to the draft, I think we'll talk about it. And Mel Kiper just released, I think, his 2-round mock. We'll talk about the first round. Also, fall camp superlatives. And yes, we are in the middle of the spring. Yes, we should be talking about spring camp superlatives, but the spring is nearing an end. And one of the things that's on my mind, what are the storylines heading into fall camp? So I wanted to kind of get to that early. Let's talk about some quarterback battles and other positional battles that weren't quite handled in spring camp. And let's see how they fare in fall camp. So we're going to talk about that as well. Zachariah Branch arrested a few days before the draft. Shout out to my dog Boomer. We have this insider at CFB Nation that Georgia doesn't have a culture problem after he asked that the quarterback Stetson Bennett, and each and every offseason they continue to have they don't have culture problems on the gridiron. It's just after the season, these players don't know what the hell to do. I guess there's nothing to do in Athens, Georgia, apparently. But this one was a little different, though. Zachariah Branch just really seemed like that policeman was on a power trip. Yeah, $39 bond is crazy. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Also, Indiana defense coordinator Bryant Haines in Alabama told Alabama fans to grow up. It's been a little war. I'm not going to get too much into that because we want to talk about that tonight on Reaction Monday. We are live at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time over on at the CFB Nation. So if you're watching at the CFB Nation on Twitter right now, just stay tuned. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. Will Howard went on record said Kansas State took advantage of him as it pertains to NIL. They will absolutely do that. What school isn't trying to get a marquee guy at a lower rate? And yes, he was in a Little Apple, but I still believe that the resources are plentiful there, so the money was there. So I think that's a discussion. I don't know if there was more shot at Kansas State. I know things didn't end well there. Avery Johnson ended up being a guy that they said they were going to move forward with the next year. Will Howard goes on to Ohio State and wins a national championship. So I don't know where the bitterness is, but I think some of that onus is on him and his agent, to be completely transparent with you. The skydiver that crashed into Virginia Tech scoreboard at James Franklin spring game. I hear that the news is better than what everybody thought it was originally. That is interesting. And also the CFP rankings show is changing. I guess we'll talk about that as well. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Great
CJ
defensive
on
minds.
the track.
They have to be better on that side of the Alrighty, let's kick this thing off with our end to the news segment. It's funny that every now and then I'll do something crazy. I actually forgot to update this segment, so pay no attention to what's in the news in that right-hand corner because I didn't update it. That's what happened when you get your notes and everything together kind of at the last moment, but it's all right. So Zachariah Branch was arrested. I'll talk about this in the cold open. $39 bond tells me that it wasn't that serious. If we are filing a $39 bond, that probably means that he probably shouldn't have been arrested. He's former USC and Georgia wide receiver. I think he did an outstanding job because when you think about a lot of times, where he got the ball, that was right at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, and he was just able to make plays. But he was arrested Sunday in Athens, early Sunday morning, 2 misdemeanor charges, obstructing a sidewalk. It's crazy. An obstruction of law enforcement. Posted a $39 bill before 4 a.m. Police report, Branch smirked at the officer, stepped back slightly, and refused to move. Only in America. That's crazy. That's crazy. If you don't see the writing on the wall, then you just missed it, and you will never understand it. Bro should not have been arrested. Based on this right here, based on the statements, based on a bond, he was walking on the sidewalk and he obstructed a sidewalk, apparently, and smirked at an officer. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where Zachariah Branch is from, but where I'm from, we do that sometimes too. It's kind of a thing. If I'm being completely transparent with you, it really is. I don't know. I remember sitting outside of my uncle's car listening to music, and we all got put in handcuffs. I was 8. It's kind of a thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? And in many situations with Georgia players, we're like, it's culture. This situation, it just looks like the young man shouldn't have been arrested, and it was kind of dumb and kind of pointless, and you look like you kind of wasted paperwork. Smirked at an officer? Smirked is wild. Smirk is absolutely wild. Smirked at an officer is a reason for somebody to get arrested? Like, what y'all on? I'm sure that's what his mindset was. Like, what's going on here? But we smirking at officers can get you arrested? Noted. Oh, yeah, noted. That's crazy. So hopefully this doesn't change anything that happened with him in the draft, because smirking at an officer shouldn't be an arrestable offense, in my humble opinion. Maybe in Georgia it's an arrestable offense, but here in the Commonwealth of Virginia it shouldn't be an offense to be arrested for. So interesting story. We'll monitor that. Kid has a lot of talent. You look at him as somebody that can be an absolute tweener in the NFL, a guy that can return kicks, return punts, bubble screens, tunnel screens, reverses, jet motions. Put him in the backfield. Just find a way to get the kid the ball. I think that's what you have in Zachariah Branch. This should not hurt his draft stock at all. Read between the lines, people. Read between the lines. This was absolute bullshit. And I don't like to cuss on the show, so sorry if any kids are watching. But the fact he got arrested for that is bullshit. It is what it is. So skydiver crashed into Virginia Tech scoreboard. Ironically, I was supposed to be at the spring game. It's been so much going on. When I tell you guys that 2026 has been absolutely my favorite year in about 10 years, I've been outside. And it's fun being outside. And we're going to continue to be outside. But normally I'm just outside for college football activities or credentials. But I've been outside, you know what I mean? And it's been kind of cool. So it was James Franklin debut spring game at Lane Stadium on Saturday. Skydiver parachute caught between the C and the H in Tech on the scoreboard. Dangled for 45 minutes. That is scary. American flag fell into the stands. Game delayed over an hour. Skydiver was safely rescued. Currently stable. Virginia Tech reached a statement confirming stable condition. So I think the news is better than what everybody originally thought. I can't wait to see what this James Franklin experience is like in Virginia Tech. If chip on your shoulder was a person, it will be James Franklin right now. I think the disrespect he felt from Penn State. Hey, post-game 86, what's happening, my dog? Salute to you as well, brother. I think when you look at James Franklin, and I think he really felt disrespected by Penn State. And I think he wants to show everybody what he can do. And he's in a conference where he don't got to deal with Oregon. Don't got to deal with Ohio State. Don't got to deal with Michigan. Don't got to deal with Indiana. Bro, Miami, Louisville, Georgia Tech, Pitt. Okay, yeah, we can deal with that. So I think his expectations are through the roof in year one, and they'll continue to be through the roof, in my opinion. Just being real. So college football ranking show is changing. ESPN and CFB in early discussions to change the weekly rankings TV show. Ideas on the tables. Fewer shows eliminate rankings before championship weekend. Start rankings later. Reduce the spotlight on the committee chairman. ESPN contractually obligated to 5 shows per season. Show 6 in 2025. Biggest controversy last year. Miami 8 spots behind Notre Dame despite beating them head to head. To me, I think this is one of those things in television, especially with the news. They've always had this mantra that the audience is dumb. That's always been a mantra. Like, think about it. The last time you watched the news, right? What do they lead with? No matter what state you live in, you can live in the safest place in America, as they like to say in Washington, D.C. But they're going to always lead with something scary. They want to scare the living hell out of you. That's what news want to do, because they know if they scare the hell out of you, and they can tease you with that sound bite, then they're going to keep you there through the commercial breaks and all of that stuff. So it's always thought that these shows a lot of times think that we're dumb, right? But you guys that are watching this show, when watching all the other shows, there's a plethora of great college football media personalities out there. CFB Nation has a lot of them. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. But there's a plethora of them. But if you're watching college football shows around this time of the year, that just means to me that you aren't a casual and you are a diehard and you really love this sport, right? So these shows are having more difficult time of fooling us, because when I tell you, we on that immediately. If you do something you're not supposed to do, we on Twitter, we're on these shows. The backlash is real. So I believe that the college football playoff ranking show has to absolutely change, because why? We're getting smarter. We're not stupid. We're not. So they have to change. They absolutely have to change, because we're not dumb. We're paying attention. We watching these games every week. We are the ones that think week 0 is just as important as any other week, right? Every week matters, not just conference play. There's something interesting in every week, and that's what we fully believe. So if you think you're just going to sit here and pull wool over our eyes, you're not. We are not the news story people. That's not who we are, the diehard fans of college football. We're just not them. Breaking news at 11 o'clock, it was a murder in Oxon Hill, Maryland. That may go to people who watch the news, and people are fearful, like, damn, our community isn't as safe as it used to be. But for college football, you can't break news with nothing like this. We're like, yo, what is you talking about? Like, be real. Like, we want to hear it. Say what you say, you know what I'm saying? And mean what you say as well. So that's how I feel about that. They have to change this somewhat, because college football fans are getting smarter. Right, we know what's going on. You ain't pulling wool over our eyes. So, of course, they got to change the format, because you do something stupid, you're going to get talked about. ESPN don't want to get talked about. The College Football Playoff Committee don't want to get talked about. But regardless, they're going to get talked about. And we're paying attention. Well, there's 5 shows, 4 shows, 6 shows. At the end of the day, if you do something and it does not make sense, we're going to talk to you about it, right? Like this situation you guys got with Notre Dame. Damn, we just handing college football playoff appearances away. That's what we doing now. So I think this is more so our fan base is smarter than they used to be. I have a saying. I play NBA 2K. I always say, like, the idea of casual on 2K doesn't exist anymore. Well, the idea of now we still got a lot of casuals that watch the sport, and that's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. Like, they go to the games and all of that. And, after January 15th or so, till about July 31st, kind of nowhere to be found. May check in on their team in the spring and in the fall camp. That's okay. They have a place for that. But I think for the people who are diehards, they have to change this format of the show, because we not sitting around. We're not moved by any of this. You better come correct. You better absolutely come correct, or it's going to be a problem. Story 4. All right, so Indiana defense coordinator Haines calls out Alabama. It is interesting what happens in the spring, and this is why I continue to say that the college football fan, the people who are bought into this, the people who truly believe that the college football is better than the NFL, like, we paying attention. And we still got smoke. Think about it. Indiana absolutely blazed Alabama in the Rose Bowl. It was a baptism of sorts, right? But it's just trash. It's still being talked. It's still being talked. And then allegedly Ty Simpson on Caleb Dow's podcast, and the defense doesn't do much. Just, kind of the same thing every down. Haines responded publicly, adorable. We exploded those cues. Don't get frozen and crushed by him. So Alabama fans wasn't having it. Double down, grow up, folks. And he had a bad take, and I said the painful truth. I think the issue is I don't think guarantees anything from Notre Dame. They don't have to rank them in the top 12. You're absolutely right. I think my issue with it post game, and I'm so glad you said that post game. But I think here's my issue with it, with them being in the top 12, if I'm being absolutely transparent with you, because we know that the process is set up for 11 teams to get in, right? Last year was an anomaly. It was an outlier where we saw, 2 G6 teams get into the field, get into the college football playoff field. And, so typically 11's going to get in, and then plus your G6 winner gets in, and then, that's the college football field. So now we can have a situation where if Notre Dame is 12th, that team at 11th is out. So when I say that, I truly feel like they're kind of given an opportunity. Of course, they got to earn it. They got to go win their games. Of course, nothing is given in this sport. But what I meant by that is, hey, that team that's at 11th spot that typically would have been in, guaranteed. If Notre Dame is at that 12th spot, they supersede them based on, how that works. But I don't know if they're going to take the G6 team out. I doubt they do that. But I think it'll be that 11th seeded team. Story number 5. Will Howard says Kansas State took advantage of him. Now, I have a statement on being taken advantage of. You can only get taken advantage of if you allowed it, right? Did you not do your research and see what the market was when you were starting quarterback in the Little Apple? Did you not do your research? I know it was kind of a new thing when you were starting a quarterback there. I believe that was the season of 2023 when you were the starting quarterback before the season of 2024. You went to Ohio State, and I assume Ohio State spent a lot of money that season, and then they ultimately won the college football championship. But I think you can only get taken advantage of if you allow it. What was your agent saying? Did you have an agent at the moment? Was there people in your corner saying? And I think the reason you ended up leaving there, I think they kind of told you, hey, it's going to be Avery Johnson's time next year. Not the biggest market, but I still think the resources are plentiful in Manhattan, Kansas. I hate to hear that you feel like you were taken advantage of, because that really sucks. But at the end of the day, I'm going to also say, why did you allow it? Why did your team allow it? Why did your agent allow it? Had a stud year in 2022, right? You should have got paid, but I get it. It was still kind of a new thing, and it's still in its adolescent phase, if we're being honest. Like, what we on year 6 of college players getting paid? So it's still very young. We're still figuring a lot of things out, and I think things won't be completely figured out until we have collective bargaining where, hey, we know the coaches and the teams are on this side, and we know that the players are on this side. We need to meet in the middle, and I think CBA is the way to do it. So I do hate to hear that you were taken advantage of, but at the same time, like, what was your agent? What was your team? I'm sure you knew that if you tested the waters, what it looked like. You could have tested the waters and went back, of course. I'm just interested to hear that side of it. So that's our into the news segments. We're going to move right along. All right, so let's react to this ESPN Way Too Early Top 25. These things normally get me fired up. They really do. I love reacting to them. I can't wait to CFB Nation. We do our first top 25 of the year. If you'd like to be polled in that, just let me know and I can get that link to you. If you got crazy stuff in there, though, it won't count towards the poll. So just let me know if you're interested in being a part of that. So we should be doing, I think this last week of spring is this upcoming week. Maybe 1 or 2 games that following week. But after that, we'll do a post-spring camp. Top 25. Now it'll be our first top 25 of the year. Going to try to get more people a part of it as well. We polled regularly about 11 or 12 people. I want to double that heading into this year. So we're going to go to the top 25. I'll give you my takes on them at the end. Ohio State is number 1 in that top 25. Oregon is number 2. UGA is number 3. Notre Dame is number 4. Texas is number 5. Indiana is number 6. It's my first problem, but I digress. We'll get to it in a minute. Miami is number 7. Texas Tech is number 8. Ole Miss is number 9. Texas A&M is 10. I still believe in what they can do in College Station this year. I really do. Marcel Reed, I think, is an amazing talent, And they have the ability to be really special this year. And I think they learned a lot last year. So don't count them out. LSU at number 11. Feels a little low for me, but we'll continue. BYU at number 12. Oklahoma at number 13. I think this is a team that, like, you look at them last year, they were so defensive oriented. You think about the fact that John Mateer was hurt a good portion of the season. Even when he came back probably a game or two early. Their defense was rocking. Like, we saw Brent Venables really figure this thing out. But think about it, like Barrett Arbuckle in year 2, the adjustment to the SEC, John Mateer, that speed of everybody talk about the SEC until you play there. Think about it if they get it clicking offensively in Norman and how impressive that could possibly be. Michigan at number 14. Kyle Whittingham is there. I think he is there to kind of stop the foolishness that's been going on in Ann Arbor. We saw what went down with the last coach there in Sharon Moore, who just got 18 months probation, if I'm not mistaken. Penn State at number 15. Why? Why is Penn State at number 15? Iowa State started red hot last year. Struggled at the end of the year. And a good portion of the starters that will be on this team this upcoming season is from Iowa State. Now, Penn State can absolutely play their way into the top 25. Resources are plentiful. That fan base is amazing. I'm not sure if they got their guy at the head coach, but 15 is very high to me. That's very high. Extremely high, right? Rocco Beck is a guy and I still adore a quarterback. Kind of a down year last year, if I'm being honest. But he's recovering from surgery and not getting a bunch of live reps in the spring. But we'll see where he's at fall camp. So I do like the pieces on that team. Carson Hansen, if there's a running back you can handpick, for Penn State, he's not explosive as some of the guys we've seen in the past. But, they kind of follow that mantra. Alabama at 16. Alabama's like, alrighty, what's going on heading into this season? I think Keelan Russell is the guy at quarterback, right? I think we've seen enough, but they'll let it play out in fall camp. But I don't know. It's interesting. Washington at 17. Utah at 18. Not mad at it at all. Iowa at 19. Let me tell you something. If you do a top 25 and you don't have a Kirk Ferentz coach team and you're top 25, you don't know ball. Iowa City's going to be there every year. Every year they'll be there in the thick of things. Somehow, in a strong Big Ten conference, the best conference in all of college football, whether you like it or not, it is what it is. USC at 20. The offensive line is back. Jalen Maava is back. Gary Patterson is their defensive coordinator. They've been recruiting their butts off. They really have. And you might not like a lot of what Lincoln Riley brings to the table. I think he's a damn good coach. Look out for USC this year. Louisville at 21. Kind of host to Louisville. I like. We see there are coaches that can just take quarterbacks on a one-year deal, and they'll figure it out. From Jack Plummer to what they have after Jack Plummer, I completely forgot. And then last year they had Moss. I think each year you just see Indiana's another team. Curtis Rourke, we've seen what he did. Fernando Mendoza, we've seen what he did. This year's Josh Hoover, we'll see what he do. There's just certain teams and coaches that can just say, "We got you for 1 year. Come on, we'll figure the rest out." Like that's how I truly feel. So SMU at 22. Kevin Jennings is back. Not a terrible year last year, but still a down year for them. Jaden Craig experience. I am ready for it in Fort Worth. TCU's at number 23. Houston at 24. This is the team I'm like, come on, ESPN. Do the right thing. Send them up. Now Tennessee's at 25. I doubted Tennessee last year. I won't doubt them this year. I have a lot of questions about their quarterback room. I think there is one answer for their quarterback room. I'll answer that later. So let me give you some of my issues with it. I just wanted to give you the top 25 first. First things first, I believe that Indiana is the best team in the country. And yes, I know what you guys are going to say. They lost a lot of production. Well, damn, Ohio State loses a lot of production every year too. But it's how you recruit from that production. Like, we seen Kirk Cignetti and staff get to it immediately after winning the national championship. He said, we'll take 24 hours to celebrate this. That's what they did. And they got straight to it, right? Toby Osunami, right? Got him defensively. A.J. Harris, right? Turbo Richard, running back from Boston College, is going to, replace Roman Hemby, right? And then you think about Josh Hoover, like, his ceiling is through the roof. Right? We heard the story of, Sonny Dykes taking a shot at him in his interceptions. Cignetti is a guy that's not going to allow that. He's going to get that down. I promise you that. He is not going to allow that whatsoever. And you think about Nick Marshall on the outside, a bona fide number one wide receiver, 6'3". And inconsistencies at quarterback in East Lansing. Also, like structured offenses on the offensive line, as well as like the play calling. I can't wait to see what he's like with a team and a coach that believe in him and a team that's going to really hold him accountable. The accountability that Kirk Cignetti holds for his players is just uncanny and it's unmatched. Indiana should absolutely be the number one team in the country headed into this college football season. We thought the first year was a fluke. We said, yeah, that was cute. You want to do it again? Oh, they did it again by going 16-0 and winning it all. So I think they should be number one, in my opinion. And then this is where things get kind of interesting. Ohio State, I'm cool with them being that too. Bo Jackson, outstanding year last year. Jeremiah Smith, best player in all of college football. Julian Sayin, outstanding year a season ago. I think he really played well. I think he was kind of a prisoner to them, like beating the hell out of a lot of teams earlier in the season. And it ultimately hurt them when it came to, being in that deep water. We cool in the shallow water. You can stand, you can swim, whatever you want to do. Once you get into that deep end, you better know how to swim or you can drown. I think we saw that in some games. We saw it in the Miami game. We saw it in the Indiana game. So I love what Ohio State at. For me, Georgia will probably, Ohio State is 3. Texas is 2. Texas is another thing. They're at 5. So it's not a big drop off from where I'm at. But Arch Manning is healthy. Got Coleman. Muschamp, defense coordinator, right? Rushing, if they can figure out the offensive line, have consistency on the offensive line, and they're able to run the ball like they could in 2024, not sure what happened last year. Everybody wanted to place blame and onus on Arch Manning. It's because of his last name. He gets a lot of hate. I don't understand it. I really don't. I'm like, do you fools watch college football or do you just skim through it? That's really what I started to ask. Don't judge a guy off a couple of games. Pay attention to the entire damn season. Because this guy was lights out down the stretch for Texas. A lot of it was too late. But also, it wasn't just him. Steve Sarkisian wasn't his best play caller earlier in the year. Like, he just wasn't. And we can sit here and lie about it, or we can sit here and be honest about it. He wasn't. And their inability to run the ball put a lot of it on Arch Manning. I'm interested to see what this looks like this year, right? Hollywood Smothers and Malik Brown. I'm really interested to see what it looks like. Notre Dame, CJ Carr, outstanding season last year. I didn't expect it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say this aloud because I'm never afraid to be wrong. I thought Kenny Minchie would win the job, but outstanding year by CJ Carr last year. They lose their backfield. I think that's the biggest concern. Ja'Jarian Price, he was even mocked as going in the first round in Mel Kiper's draft. And then we know Jeremiah Love will be leaving. So I think that's the biggest question. I think there's more on CJ Carr this year. Mike Denbrock, we seen him his first year there with Notre Dame. They ran the ball a lot. This past year, it was a little bit more balanced because we seen at LSU he could throw it. I think this year, even though that is a defensive-minded team with a defensive-minded head coach and Marcus Freeman, I think we're going to see them opening up the pass game a lot more this year. I'm excited to see that. Miami at 7. Darian Mensah from Duke. You talk about pound for pound, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's certainly up there. Malachi Tony, true sophomore, is there. Cooper Barkate came down from Duke as well. Loss of production on the defensive line. We know Akeem Mazador is gone. We know Ruben Bain is gone. Akeem Mazador is fantastic, by the way. We had a chance to interview him at ACC Media Days a year ago. And whenever we interview players, I kind of follow them, see what they're doing. Even if I don't get the chance to watch all the games, I'll look at the box scores and look at some film and just see what they did. Akeem Mazador really, really impressed me. And Mark Fletcher is back. Miami's going to be there in the thick of things in a conference that ain't so tough. Texas Tech, number 8. Loving it. I have no issues there. Ole Miss at 9. I love that as well. I have no issues there. Texas A&M, I already talked to you guys about them. LSU needs to be higher. The amount of money that was spent to construct this roster, did you guys not just see the film of Jace Brown, however you say his damn name, going crazy? Kansas State transfer. I mean, when you talk about smooth route running, creating ultimate separation, like that's what he was just doing in the highlight film. Just search it. I just seen it on Twitter. Dude, I'm telling you, like, legit, BYU, a lot is going to fall on Barry Bachmeier this year. We know what they'll be able to do defensively with a Kalani Sitake coach team. We know they'll be able to run the ball with LJ Martin there. Barry Bachmeier, they lost, 2 games last year? Both of them was to Texas Tech. How do you make that leap? Because you have to make that leap when you're playing a legit defense and they're stuffing the box. You have to be able to make that leap as a passer. And that's really how I feel about all of this. I think Penn State should be lower. I'm interested with Michigan, but I trust Cal Whittingham. Houston is just one of those teams. Like, every year there's a team I fall in love with. Last year was Baylor, and we see how that worked. This year it's Houston. I think Connor Wegman, that second Saturday in December, I think we're going to make a discussion. In Tennessee, who their starting quarterbacks will be. We'll talk about that a little bit later on our fall camp battle section. Let's go ahead and move right along. Alrighty. So, let's talk about this NFL draft crossover. You guys know I don't talk much NFL. Actually, other than the Buffalo Bills, I'm not really interested much in the NFL. If I'm speaking candidly, I watch the Bills games, and sometimes I don't even fully watch them. Like, I'll have it on the TV, and I may be looking at some film from Saturday if I was at a game and I missed some stuff. I want to go watch it, and I'm preparing notes for the week. We have Overreaction Monday on Monday, and of course I had my show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And last year I was doing it almost every day, and that'll pick up here soon, where I'm starting to do about 4 shows a week. I don't think I'll ever get back to 5 shows a week, because that's crazy. But it's kind of cool to talk about this, because I'm going to the NFL draft. I'm going with a bunch of my close friends, man. These guys that I've known for a very long time. You know, we've been friends since the sandbox, as they say, right? And then Fuss is my uncle, of course, but he showed me the ropes. So he's a Raiders fan. He's excited to go. I'm also a Dallas Cowboy fan. It's a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans up here, if y'all didn't know that. And their aunts are Dallas Cowboy fans. I like the Buffalo Bills, as you can tell. So I'm excited for the draft as well. This is Mel Kiper's mock draft. I didn't know earlier that I did think, and I got to talk to our good friend Brian Brossard to see how he feel about that trade. Definitely feel the need with Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is an outstanding player, not taking anything away from him. And of course, you want a proven player, right? You don't know what some of these draft players are going to do. But to me, that told me that John Harbaugh is in that win now and win later mode. And I like the fact that he got 2 of the first 10 picks. And that gives him flexibility if there's somebody that he's really, really wants. So I think the first pick is a no-brainer. We got Fernando Mendoza, national championship, 16-0. You think about the moment, in that game when he rushed on that 4th down for a touchdown. I think the guy's legit. Now, I know a lot of, guys that I truly respect, man. Like, Gridiron Apex, my dog Dante, they not the biggest fans of Fernando Mendoza. And I always say that we don't have to agree on things, but I can always respect somebody's narrative when I know that they did the work, that I know that they're watching the games, that I know that they're going back and they're looking at the film. So when they say it, there's something that they're seeing, and they truly do believe that Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in the draft. And that's not the only people that I hear with that narrative. I do like Fernando Mendoza. I think some of the issues people have with Fernando Mendoza was things were easy for him from time to time this year, and also probably some of that Cal tape. Yeah, I'm sure. I always say I think a lot of draft analysts don't watch college football. I do say that, but I know my dogs over at Gridiron Apex, they do watch a lot of college football. So it's always interesting to hear different perspectives. Like, I love when like Nino or Moon or D-Now and I don't agree on something, because I love to hear they take on something, right? Because I know that it's well thought out and they put the work in for that take. That's why it matters to me so much, right? And we know that the audience isn't dumb. I expect the people that watch this show and all of our shows across the CFB Nation brand, you guys love this thing the way we love this thing. And I think that's why you guys watch, to be honest with you. New York Jacks is taking David Bailey. This one is different from what I've seen. A lot of people had, Arvell Reese mocked here. I'm going to say something. You guys aren't going to like. Tons of us thought Minchie would win. Yeah, I thought Minchie was going to win. And that was actually some of the reports I heard last spring, like from Brad Crawford. And it's like, yo, this race is really close. I said, damn. I was interested to hear that. But yeah, I really did think Kenny Minchie was going to win that quarterback competition. But shout out to CJ Carr. He played lights out. I'm interested to see what Kenny Minchie looks like in Kentucky's offense this upcoming season. And I must say, I like Romello Height more than I like David Bailey. And I know that's crazy to say. I know their stats don't compare. But when you look at David Bailey roles in a defense versus Romello Height role in that defense, Romello Height is the guy that everybody wants to have on their defense, right? Stats not going to stand out, and he can still rush the passer, but he's going to do things the right way, right? If you need him to stay home, right? Run that 5 and then to stay home because you think it's some reverse action coming, guess who's going to be there and stay home? It's going to be Romello Height. So I just wanted to big up Romello Height. But that's nothing against David Bailey. I'm just a huge Romello Height fan. So he's going second to the New York Football Jets. Number 3, Arizona Cardinals. They're going with Arvell Reese, Ohio State. This is according to Mel Kiper, right? Yeah, I think so too. I'm hopeful for Kentucky. Kentucky deserves it. I'm a huge Mark Stoops fan, so of course I wasn't happy he got fired. But talking to a lot of people that I trust, they believe that he should have been replaced. Tennessee Titans going big at forward Jeremiah Love and Mel Kiper's mock draft. I just can't wait to be here to see what the fiasco is like at the draft. Like, because we're going to get out there early. We'll probably get out there around noon and then tailgate probably till like 5 and 6 before we go try to find our way to actually watch the draft. Probably later than that. So it's going to be a fun time. I just want to see. I think one of my favorite things to do is to kind of see what people look like in person. Like, we was just in Charlotte recently and we saw the Detroit Pistons coming out of a hotel. We was just walking downtown, and this is I think the last game of the regular season when they beat the Hornets. I was looking at a lot of these player heights. I'm like, whoa, y'all not as tall as y'all listed. And that's been a thing said in the NBA, but like some of them people are like they're lying, but like we talking about like 3 or 4 inches that they're lying by. The New York Football Giants getting Caleb Downs. I love it. I said it before. I said it again. I thought Caleb Downs was the best player in college football a season ago. Probably the best player before that. I also think he's the best player in this draft, hands down. So if the New York Giants get him, I think it'll be love. And at 6, we have Mel Kiper projecting a trade between the Dallas Cowboys and Cleveland to move up and get Sonny Styles. That'll be a hell of a pick for them. They do need help at that second level at linebacker, but is it worth everything that they gave up? That's a question I have to ask many people. Washington Commanders taking Carnell Tate, as he's the first wide receiver off the board. I do love Carnell Tate. I think he's an outstanding wide receiver. But for my liking, Mekhi Lemon is the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. But, that's just based on what I've seen in college. New Orleans Saints taking Ruben Bain, defensive end. There's been a lot to say about Ruben Bain this offseason, especially with the arm length. It didn't seem to bother him in college. Doesn't mean he won't bother him in NFL when you got tackle 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and super long wingspan. So I get it. But, from what I've seen, it shouldn't bother them. But we don't know. Like, there's a reason why the GMs care about these type of things. There's just truly a reason why they care about them. All right. And number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs. We expect them to go wide receiver or offensive lineman here, depending on who's on the board. They're going to go Jordan Tyson, Arizona State. A lot of people love his pro day workout. So shout out to him, man. And Coach Prime even bigged him up for his time when he was in Boulder. So, yeah, I think it'd be a great fit. If you can't get production there, where can you get production at in the NFL? Number 10, New York Giants. Talked about this trade earlier. Who you guys think won the trade? Answer that below. I think that the Giants won the trade. Yes, Dexter Lawrence is one hell of a player, but if they're able to get Caleb Downs at 5 and then address your offensive line issue and get somebody like Francis Magua, who also we seen at ACC Media Days last year, like, dude, that is beautiful. You're putting in 2 pieces that are going to start day one. That is beautiful. That is what you need. That is absolutely what you need. Number 11, the Miami Dolphins getting Mansur Delane, cornerback, LSU. I think he's number 1 on a lot of people's boards. I think Colton Hood is up there for a lot of people. Jamal McCoy is my favorite corner in this draft. I know he didn't play a lot or play at all this past season. What I seen out of 2024 was enough for me. Cleveland Browns with the Dallas trade, of course, they're going to take Caden Proctor. He's marked higher than I've seen a lot of people. You look at what Caden Proctor was able to do in college. I always think about that short stint he went back. He went to Iowa City, like not even for a full semester before he went back to Alabama. That was always hilarious to me. Number 13, via Atlanta, Rams get Mekhi Lemon. Could you imagine Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Mekhi Lemon, the same wide receiver room? You know how crazy this would be? How insane this would be? And he get to learn from 2 different guys like that specialize at 2 different things, right? When we talk about elite route running and the ability to high point the ball, like, dude, this would be the best fit. And he gets to stay in beautiful Los Angeles. Baltimore Ravens take Spencer Fino, offensive lineman from Utah. Met him in real life. He's one of the few people you meet in real life. He's like, oh no, he's a legitimate height. Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Mel Kiper's mock draft taking Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. What can't you say about this kid? This kid is 241 pounds and moved like a wide receiver. Ran a 4.39 and a 40. Tight end 1 in a lot of people's minds. I can't blame them. New York Jets taking Omar Cooper, and I think that'll be the 4th wide receiver taken off the board in this draft. Really solid season for Indiana this past year. Can't be bad at that at all. Detroit Lions, Monroe Freeling from Georgia. Detroit Lions really love to build that offensive line. And it's special. Minnesota Vikings, Dylan Thieneman from Oregon. Outstanding year this year in Eugene for him. Wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think that'll be an outstanding pick. The Cleveland Browns, projected trade, taking Denzel Boston from Washington. A legit 6'4". It's faster than I think a lot of people think. Can high point the ball. He's an outstanding dude. The dude looks like a tight end. Like, that's what he looks like when you see him in real life. Truly. Pittsburgh Steelers taking Ola Vega-Ion from Penn State. Outstanding guard. Thought he would be marked a little bit higher here. But I'm surprised that they will pass on Ty Simpson here in Mel Kiper's draft. The Chargers will take Peter Woods, defensive tackle from Clemson. We think about this past season, like Clemson is one of the stories. Clemson and Penn State, because when you just look at roster construction, mostly returner production, those were two schools I had extremely high hopes for, and you could not have told me like in a million years they'd had the season that they have. That's why I think the parity that we're getting in this sport is unlike no other, because for years you could predict who would be the 4 teams in the college football playoff, and you at least have a rough idea. You could probably guess 2 of the 4 correctly, right? In this era, you just can't. Who thought Miami will make the run that they did? Who thought Indiana will follow up that college football playoff appearance in 2024? Like, these are the things that I think that excites me when I'm thinking about college football and talking about this sport. Philadelphia Eagles selecting Blake Miller, offensive tackle from Clemson, and Mel Kiper's mock draft. Cleveland Browns via Jacksonville taking Jabbar McCoy, cornerback from Tennessee. Huge fan of this kid. I think he's the best corner in the draft. Chicago Bears taking another edge rusher. That's what they like to do. Zion Young from Missouri. Buffalo Bills, that's my team. We'll talk about them a little bit. We're transitioning from the 4-3 to the 3-4. I think we ran a 3-4 since maybe, I could be wrong. Nah, Dick Geron was 4-3. Pause. Trying to think who was after him. I don't think we ran the 3-4 since Wade Phillips was there, and we had Bryce Pop and all of them dudes. So we got to convert. Like, I think Bradley Chubb will be a 3-4 outside linebacker. So would Greg Rousseau move to that. And then you start to think of, who's going to be your right ends and your left ends, your defensive tackle. Keldrick Falk is somebody that can play that 3-4 defensive end. And I wouldn't be mad at it at all. So, San Francisco 49ers taking Max. I'm going to mess up his last name from Arizona State. He's an offensive tackle. I feel like some of these teams is just really a luxury play. Houston Texans taking Miller from Georgia. Kansas City Chiefs via Los Angeles Rams trade taking Colton Hood at 29. At 30. This is Mel Kiper's, not mine. Mel Kiper. Arizona Cardinals, Ty Simpson from Alabama. If they could move up and get him, that would be dope. That would be a projected trade with Miami. New England Patriots taking Akeem Mesidor. I talked about Mesidor earlier. I think he's an outstanding defensive end and a better human being, man. He's a solid dude. And you know how you talk to people at media days and people predict they're gonna have an outstanding season. That's what they supposed to say. That's what they coach wants them to say. But to predict an outstanding season for Miami and to truly back it up is amazing. And to cap off the first round of the NFL draft, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking Jadarian Price, running back from Notre Dame. I think that's really interesting. Like, when you think about it, you think about that the fact that Jadarian Price spelled Jeremiah Love. Imagine if he was getting the amount of carries that he could have been getting elsewhere, probably for like 98% of the teams in the country. And the fact that he would go to would be outstanding for a team. And I think he fits kind of with their scheme. We know Kenneth Walker is no longer there, so that's interesting. We don't talk NFL much on this show, but the fact that I'm here at the draft, I thought it was important that we did at least bring that up. All right, let's move on to our next segment. All right, so we're going to talk about some fall camp superlatives. Spring season is almost over. What is on our minds heading into fall camp? And we know in between fall camp, you got something called summer workouts. But there are some lasting things on our mind when we think about the spring season. Outstanding spring season. Outstanding coverage for spring season. Shout out to my boy Moon, who runs our website. Shout out to Nino. He's always updating everybody the latest news on Twitter and YouTube, as I have my panels for. I knew this one was going to fall. But this is live TV. We good. We going to make it do what it do. All right, so first thing first, we're going to head down to Knoxville, man. What's going on with their QB battle, right? We got 3 guys. I really think it's a battle or 2, but we got 3 guys, fighting ultimately for one job at quarterback, right? We had George McIntyre, probably had the best spring, arguably him or Ryan Staub. And we know, Brandon Faison struggled. And I think Josh Heupel and company got a lot right on this season, so they have to get it right at quarterback. Who I ultimately think will be the guy is George McIntyre, but I think even though Brandon Faison struggled in the spring season, I would go with him. Because, what's the likelihood you lose him, right? Some other teams start calling, hey, we promise you to start. Like, I don't know. This is a tough one. I think Ryan Staub is there just to make a well-rounded quarterback room. I don't think he'll start at all. I think it's just, okay, this is a smart, cerebral guy. We need him for our quarterback room. This offense is a very quarterback-friendly offense. We've seen Joey Aguilar go absolutely nuclear in this system a season ago. So we can't sit here and just ultimately doubt Tennessee, right? We have to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, this thing could truly work out. So this quarterback battle is one of the most important quarterback battles or any positional battle in the country. I wish all three of these guys will. George McIntyre probably win, but I will go with Brandon Faison, if I'm being honest. Georgia Tech quarterback battle was really interesting. I read a lot of college football stuff, so we know that Buster Faulkner left, right, for Florida to be their offensive coordinator, joined Coach Summerall, and we know Aaron Philo went with him. I thought Aaron Philo would leave last year. After Haynes King, came back, we knew he was going to be the starter. But we seen in those moments that Aaron Philo, hey, this kid's going to be really good. But he waited his turn. He left. He know this system. He's going to be fighting for his life down there at Florida. He really is going to be fighting for his life down there. But Alberto Mendoza, the younger Mendoza, he's their new quarterback. We know he's athletic. He fits this system that George Gideon is trying to run. It's a run-hefty system because their coach, Brent Key, is a former offensive lineman, right? So his ideology and his mantra is run the ball. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to absolutely run the ball. I think from what I read that Alberto Mendoza has a legitimate shot at winning his job. We seen him in mop-up duty a lot last year. I think when you go there, you see your brother and how well his brother excelled there. But the culture you get at Indiana and Bloomington, I think he'll take that down to hot Atlanta. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was successful this year. If you're a quarterback and you're athletic, this is a system you want to play in. Why? You going to get about anywhere from 8 to 12 carries a game. You're going to get an opportunity to throw the ball, but you run so much. And, it's going to be impressive, right? It's going to be really impressive. I can't wait to see this. We saw that in the spring game, the defense was dominating early, right? But the offense ultimately started to figure it out. I'm interested to see how well this thing works out. They really got a bell cow at running back, Justin Haynes, right? Because I don't think they had that before, right? You look at Jamal Haynes, ironically, who was their running back prior to, he was more of a, I don't like to call him scat backs because he wasn't afraid to run between the tackle, but, you kind of use him on everything. A little bit of jet sweeps, outside runs, screens in the passing game. He was that type of running back. Well, they got a true bell cow now in the system with that. If you're an offensive lineman, you got a coach that knows your position better than you do. So you better be prepared for that. So I think they'll be able to run the ball. There was a moment at one point last year, you were like, wow, Georgia Tech's really about to win the ACC. You really felt that, between them and Miami, because Miami had lost some games that they probably shouldn't have lost. You said to yourself, Georgia Tech could win the ACC. But I just want to see how this offense evolve. Are they going to trust Alberto Mendoza more than they trust Haynes King? That's the question I have for everybody, right? So, Kentucky got a really interesting situation. Me and my dog, Post Game 86, was talking about this situation earlier. Cutter Boley started, 10 games a season ago. We got Stein, who's from Oregon. He's known as a quarterback developer. We've seen the quarterbacks that have had immense amount of success in the system, right? And then I thought Kenny Minchey was going to Nebraska, and I hated it for him. Just like I hated for Anthony Calandria. Right, I believe in Dana Holgerson and his system. I'm just not sure if they have the roster construction nor the pieces in the most difficult conference to play in. I'm not sure they have enough, right? So I'm glad Minchie ended up going to Kentucky. I'm just interested to see what it looks like in Lexington this year for them, right? I think obviously Kenny Minchie will be the starting quarterback. They were able to win the spring game. I think his dual threat ability is going to be amazing. Tight end Willie Rodriguez said he believes, and Stein believes that this offense is ahead. I think that's crucial when you hear that. So yeah, Minchie is the starter in my opinion, but this thing is still gonna figure itself out in fall camp. But they haven't named the starter yet. Alabama's quarterback battle is crazy because you got the people who love Austin Mack, right? And even after Keelan Russell had the impressive spring game, it's a spring game. You're supposed to play well, right? That's what we say, right? They have not named a starter yet. I was wondering what side of the fence Kalen DeBoer would be on. Would he be on Hugh Freeze's side of the fence where they kind of named a starting quarterback late? I think of the Robbie Ashford and the Peyton Thorne quarterback battle. Or would it be more on the side of Shane Beamer? I think of the Robbie Ashford and Lenore Sellers side. And after the spring, he said Lenore Sellers our starting quarterback. I was hoping Kalen DeBoer did that. He didn't do that. I have a saying. I'm cool if quarterback battles bleed until fall camp. They better not bleed into the last week of fall camp because the team needs to know who's going to be their leader and their signal caller, right? I think in the first week, that's the latest you should name who your starting quarterback is. And I get it for some reasons. People don't want to name it just because, we don't want them to know who to prepare for and all of that stuff. Brother, figure it the F out. Y'all know what I want to say, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, name your starting quarterback. Let that starting quarterback get the reps that are needed and deserved. Because some of these teams are, you starting out your season with legit games. But I think Keelan Russell gives them the highest upside. I think it allows Ryan Grubb to really call a game the way he wants to call a game. So, Auburn, abysmal spring game by their offense, right? DJ Durkin, ahead of schedule, as always, outstanding defense coordinator, one of the best defense coordinators in the country. Byrum Brown struggled, 7-14, couple of interceptions during A-Day. T.I., I don't know how you say his name, went 15 of 20, 179, and 2 tutties. I'm not worried about this offense. I said that. I said this is the best thing that could happen for Alex Golesh and company because we see that this Van Shoot style system, the success that Tennessee has had with it with various quarterbacks, right? And I know these guys are coming over from the G6, but they played quality games last year. They played against tough opponents last year, right? They was able to go into the swamp and beat Florida for crying out loud, right? So they'll get there. Alex Golesh will use this as a tool, as a vehicle to get them where they need to be. I truly do believe that. Byrum Brown is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. DJ Durkin, of course, is going to be ahead of the offense. He's going to know your signals. He's going to get ahead, of course. This does not surprise me. And this is not reason to worry. But I think for most people, hey, what's going on with Auburn, they will figure it out. Trust me. I truly think they'll figure it out. Florida State, what's going on there? Like, I've talked about Mike Norvell before. I think he's an outstanding coach that has just had an unbelievable string of bad luck. But you're in a place where the resources are plentiful and that the clock is absolutely ticking, brother. Win or you won't be the coach next year. They will find somebody else to replace you. Now, we have a myriad of schools that's going to we don't do the spring game thing. That's a thing of the past. So they haven't done a spring game. Some schools just like to do a last final scrimmage in-house, not publicized. They just don't want tape getting out. Maybe some players get hit up by some other schools illegally, right? Or just, they just think that the spring game is antiquated. I love the spring game. I love to see, kind of like, all right, I like the way this kid's looking in this offense. Because I always say, like, hey, recruiting is very important for all these schools. And I do pay attention to, who got many 5 stars, 4 stars. But the recruits, till you on campus, your early enrollee, yeah, that's when I start, like, make some noise there. Get your back strike removed. I start paying attention to you. That's really my take on that. So let's just see what Georgia State is, man. They're at I don't want to call it a state of emergency, but it's a state of emergency for Mike Norvell. Win now. You have to win now. And I don't think it's just bowl eligibility 6-6 win now. I think it's 8-4. We need improvement. Back to back abysmal seasons. And this last year started off so promising, right? Georgia wide receiver room. It was one of the talks heading into this past year. Like, wow, they actually got some good wide receivers this year. And we didn't see Mike Bobo really open up the offense except for when he had to. When Ole Miss was putting points on the board, he opened up the offense. In Knoxville, when Tennessee scored 3 back-to-back touchdowns and was passing a rock, he opened up the offense. But, with the players that they had on this team, it was just interesting to see, like, wow, I just really wish he could open up the playbook some more. But I think that's by design. I think they really trust their defense. And, Georgia's just going to always win a lot of ball games. But I think when you look at this year, it's like who's going to step to the forefront of this wide receiver room. They're going to always have playmakers. They're going to always have guys that can create in space, right? Nate Frazier will lead this running back room. And Gunnar Stockton, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of college football, right? So I'm interested to see what that wide receiver room looks like, if we're being honest, right? Indiana, I don't think there should be doubts. I don't know why people are jawing at Indiana. They just won the college football national championship. They did it at 16-0, the first team to ever go 16-0 in our sport. We shouldn't be doubting them, right? We know Joshua replaced Fernando Mendoza, started 31 games at TCU, 41 turnovers and 31 starts. We've already heard about that. Kirk Cignetti will fix it. You know who else would have fixed it if he went there too? Brian Brown. These are quarterbacks. Hey, what did you see? This is on near mistakes. Not even like you threw an interception. On near mistakes. I seen Brown do it with Miller Moss. He almost threw an interception versus Miami. What the F was that? Like, that accountability piece is going to be there. So, yes. And then also, it's a well-rounded team, and his defense is going to be able to get stops. TCU at times couldn't get stops, right, during his tenure there, right? But love what they have going on. Turbo Richard is replacing Roman Hemby, right? We got Nick Marsh. He's going to be replacing Omar Cooper on the outside. Carter Smith back at left tackle. I really like what they have going on. Toby Osanami from Kansas State was a great addition. A.J. Harris was a great addition. Cignetti is 27-2. 27-2. Ain't lost a game since January of 2020. I'm sorry, that might have been December of 2024 in the college football playoff, right? Trust them. Because I think each and every year his talent has gotten better, if I'm being honest. And I think, year one, we seen him do it with Curtis Ward. Last year was, Fernando Mendoza. I think Joshua probably has the highest ceiling of the three. Just see how it works. So I believe in Bloomington for sure. Notre Dame. Got to replace an entire backfield. I think that's what we all looking for. You think about Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. They were just so outstanding. But Aeneas Williams should be the guy. He averaged, 9.3 yards per carry. They're going to be able to run the ball. And I said this earlier. I really think Mike Denbrock is going to open up the playbook a little bit. They're never going to be what he was in LSU in 2022 and 2023. But I said that to say that don't be surprised like if they put more on C.J. Carr. That wouldn't surprise me a near bit. Not at all. So Ohio State wide receiver room, you're just trying to look at the depth. We know Carnell Taylor get drafted. I think Mel Kiper had him as a top 10 pick and maybe the first receiver off the board, if I'm not mistaken. But who's the depth behind Jamar Smith, right? We saw Kirsten Henry. He looked good. The freshman just got the black stripe removed. That's impressive. Not as fast as Jamar Smith, but, still got it removed. Brandon Innes is there. Like, this is the year for him, right? It has to be, right? So Julian saying outstanding season a year ago, really did. I think them beating teams the way they were beating teams early in the season really hurt them later in the season where they was in that deep water and they just weren't used to it. Alabama's the last thing I want to talk about today. And really when I speak on Alabama, it's more so of can they run the ball? They struggled last year to run the ball, right? And even with struggling, they've lost some production at running back, right? What does that look like next year? Can they have the ability to run the ball? Keelan Russell is definitely going to help with that if he's your starter with his ability to run the ball. He's definitely going to help with that. So those are some of the superlatives that I'm looking for in fall camp. I know spring season isn't over. I believe we have games this weekend. Maryland has a game. I'm going to try to get to that one. Yes, I'm going to the draft Thursday. I'm going to still try to get to the Maryland spring game this weekend. I think Moon might be coming up for that as well. It's been a fun episode. It's always fun episodes. I enjoy talking to you guys every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Schedule's been crazy for me. That's why I haven't been able to give you guys the show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday the way I like. But you'll definitely get a Wednesday show. No Friday show. I'll be coming back and I'll be editing the footage from the draft. And then we're live tonight, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time over on at CFB Nation over on YouTube. We're live on Twitter as well. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive the vast. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. Until next time, you all take care. One. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
that
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.